Hello and welcome to Hopscotch, a podcast that hops between languages and cultures to share cross-cultural conversations about stories and books. I'm your host and Fulbright ETA, Erin Addison. Today, we are going to talk about the story The Fireflies by Serafin García. We'll be having a conversation today with Freddy about the story and its many unique aspects. Freddy is currently studying to be a primary school English teacher here in Uruguay. Freddy, welcome to Hopscotch. How are you doing?
Fine, and you, Erin?
Doing well,
Okay.
doing well. I'm excited to talk about Fireflies with you. Could you give us a brief summary?
Okay, Fireflies is a story from the book El Totoral, who belongs to Serafin García, as you said. And he's known in Uruguay in a genre that is called Poesía Gauchesca. He's like the countryside writer. So he moved to the countryside at 5 years old with his family, and he stayed. He spent a lot of time there in countryside, and he lived a lot of experience that he later put on writing, and that's the amazing thing. And one of his friends in that time was Blanquita, who later became his wife.
Oh.
And she told him to write about those stories that they keep memories. And a brief story about this writer, that he only went to primary school, and after that he studied by himself. So
Only went to primary school, and he became an author.
Yeah, and he's well known here in Uruguay, and that's amazed me.
Yeah.
That part of the story.
That's fantastic. That's a great story. I see why you chose him and the story to highlight today. So.
Yeah. And the main thing about the Fireflies is like when you for first time see a thing that amazes you, that belongs to nature. And this story is close to me because I lived the same experience. I have 1 year living in the countryside, and when I saw this marvelous thing about nature like fireflies, I was like, wow. And he described it, and he like threw me back in time, and he in some way he let me live the experience again, and it's amazing.
Right. So he kind of took you back in time through his words.
Yeah.
Of talking about his time in the countryside and the fireflies, and explaining that kind of mystical moment when you see it for the first time.
Yeah. And when you are able to put that kind of stories in writing, and the other person who is reading is able to live the experience again, it's like, wow, this is like he nailed it.
Yes, he nailed it.
Yeah.
It's very impactful. Very impactful.
So and the Fireflies like is like here is backward than the north. So we have like summer starting in December. So it was late afternoon, and he was with Blanquita. They were like 5-6 years old, and Blanquita say like, look, there is a bug with a light, and he said like, don't touch it because you're gonna burn yourself.
Right.
And there is always the wise man that live with them and explain, no, you're not gonna burn.
It's just a bug.
Yeah,
it's not on fire.
And that is like is amazing, no? Like to live that. So the main thing about this is if you're like learning Spanish or able to read in Spanish, look for this book.
Great.
We're gonna share where to find it and all about it.
All right. Thank you for the summary and the recommendation. I'm going to ask you a few questions about kind of some details of the book.
Okay.
Is the power of friendship. You mentioned that a character in the story, her name is Blanquita, and that actually ended up being the author's wife. Could you
Mhm.
tell me more about how the story paints friendship and also maybe love?
Yeah, there is one thing like we cannot choose our family. Like we cannot choose our parents who are gonna be, but we can choose like friends. And when you grow older, you have a fewer friends. So that's like at my age, like is the a good thing to have few friends, but you have the best.
Yeah.
And there is always like finding new people, interesting people, and live experience and share experience. And today is like after the pandemic is too much cold. Like we don't have relationships, and
Yeah.
we don't have, we don't kiss, we don't
Yeah,
touch each other. And we
creating
need that
distance. Yeah.
and we need that to be close again and talk a little more, get out of the electronic devices.
Yeah, get off the phone, get out of
Yeah.
the house. You know.
So in that way, you can like this book talks about nature. Like you can go back and live the experience, and you can share that with friends. And that's the when you share something with somebody that you appreciate is worth more.
Yeah.
A little bit more.
I like what you said about friends needing to be quality over quantity.
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah.
you want to have the best friends, not necessarily the most. And then also reconnecting with nature and experiencing things maybe that are similar to when you were a kid can really make you reconnect to the world around you.
Yeah, that's true. We need to like reconnect with nature and like in some way get outside and try to see what we are doing to this planet and in some way try to fix it.
Right.
And to that, like I said, we need to get out, get out of our electronic devices and live the experience.
Thank you. And so you mentioned getting out into nature and how that can make you feel like you're in a different time. Can you tell me more about how this story kind of transports the reader and maybe about your own experience growing up?
Yeah, like I could write a book, but not in the way that he did.
Uh-huh.
And like you have experience in your life. Like I think I told you once, like I live without electricity and with running water, and
Right.
really was like,
No
it
electricity,
even-
no running water.
Okay,
Yes.
and that makes you like wiser in some way because you need to read a lot and you need to do things that other kids don't do. So you live the experience in first hand. So that's the amazing thing. And if you can remember this through words that somebody puts in a book, is great.
It's very impressive
Yeah,
what
it is.
Garcia was able to do.
Yeah, it was.
With just words. Just words.
Just words. And the language that he uses in the book is amazing. I just bring some words that he used in Spanish that
Please.
I don't if I don't get a dictionary I don't know what he's
Yeah.
talking about. And one of them is like bonomia,
Bonomia.
you can say it in English.
Thoughtfulness.
Yeah, that's the one. He used the kind of language in a book that was supposed to be taught in primary school back in years. So
Mhm.
that's a good thing.
Mhm.
Then he used another one that he says feéricos.
Relative to the fairies.
Okay, so that's I found that word the other day.
Yeah.
Like researching up to this podcast. So
Wow.
it's a good thing.
Like the flying mythical things?
Yeah,
Fairies?
Yeah, the fairies. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
got it.
Like a fairy tale.
Yes, yeah.
And the third one that I found was cocuyos.
And that's another way to say fireflies.
Yeah, I never
Okay.
thought about it. I think it's a different kind, but well, he introduced this to our language, and that's a good thing.
Yes. When I was reading the story and I came across some words I didn't understand, yeah, because Spanish is my second language, I just assumed, maybe I just don't get it. And
No,
then
but-
when I talked to you,
Yeah.
I understood that these are some rare words.
Yeah, there are, but like Spanish is a richer language, so we are not used to use different words, especially today that everything is short and
Yes.
sometimes short conversations, but this is kind of interesting.
These are the questions I wanted to talk about today. The last one I wanted to do is about the values in Uruguay versus in the U.S. Are there values that come across in this book that maybe are universal, or they're ones that maybe one country prefers over the other?
Well, this book is in the early 1900s, so I can think in the USA back then, and there is no difference. Mm-hmm. Because people used to live in villages or in the countryside or small towns, and I think the experience the kid could live in the beginning of the 1900s is the same that they live here. So I think the values here, it was like the first World War coming or going on, and there were no difference. But today, yeah, we can say that there are a lot of difference of values and things. But back then, I think it was pretty much the same experience.
Pretty much the same, right?
Yeah.
Before the Industrial Revolution, everyone was kind of living simply in the same way.
Yeah. Right. Some people is trying to go back to those times and going back to the countryside and looking for peace and inner peace and try to find yourself, and that's a good thing. I think when you grow older, you want to get out of town and just relax. And
get away from the noisy city. Maybe that's something that's come back around, right? Yeah. Is that now we are still searching for that inner peace. We're searching for quiet places that we can relax. And that never really goes away. I think that might be universal. What do you think?
Yeah. I love to be outside. And I was locked down in the pandemic, but after they realized that we need to go outside more and, like I said, live the experience and teach new generations to do that.
Yeah, I completely agree. Thanks you for talking to me about the story, Freddy. Are there any last things you want to talk about the Fireflies?
Well, I like I said before, I highly recommend to somebody who is trying to read in Spanish. It's a good way to learn the language and live the experience. And like you say, you read it, you like it, and that's a good thing.
Yes, I definitely recommend it to the Spanish learners on the podcast. I really enjoyed the story, and I think you would too.
Okay, thank you for having me here today.
Yes, thank you for coming. Thank you for listening to Hopscotch. Please tune in to our other episodes for more cross-cultural discussions and storytelling. Many thanks to our guest, Freddy. He is a student at Instituto Formación Docente in Rocha, studying to become a primary school English teacher. Finally, special thanks to the U.S. Fulbright program for providing the opportunity for me to work here with this great class at IFRD. Until next time, this is Erin signing off.